Iran is on high alert. US President Donald Trump has deployed B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to a remote island in the Indian Ocean for a single reason: the US is gearing up to strike Iran. In response, Iran is now setting its sights on a critical US military base, claiming it as a preemptive move meant to wipe it off the map. At least, that's what Iran asserts. However, the reality may be that Iran lacks the capability to reach such a distant island, let alone launch an invasion. It all traces back to a letter from Trump. In this letter, he urged Iran to engage in direct talks concerning its nuclear development program. For years, Iran has been striving to build a nuclear weapon, a tool that would allow it to exert dominance across the Middle East and solidify its position as a key player in the region's geopolitics. While it hasn't achieved that goal just yet, it's getting closer. Iran is already enriching uranium to 60% U-235, and most nuclear weapons require 90% U-235 to become fully operational. Centrifuges are being assembled with oversight from the US, Russian, Chinese, French, English Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. Iran is making strides toward nuclear armament, and Trump is not happy about it. Some might argue that Trump himself played a role in this situation. During his first term as president, he pulled the US out of the JCPOA, opting instead for a wave of sanctions designed to cripple Iran's economy. Economically, Trump's strategy is making an impact. However, with the US serving as the main power in the JCPOA, and considering that Russia and China have closer ties with Iran, the entire agreement is unraveling. Trump wants to negotiate a new deal. Iran refuses. Now, Trump is stationing bombers on Diego Garcia as a clear warning. Either Iran agrees to negotiations, or there will be consequences. Trump faces two major obstacles. First, Iran has outright refused direct discussions. Its president, Masoud Pezeshkian, stated, "We replied to the US president's message via Oman and rejected direct negotiations, though we are open to indirect talks." That's not sufficient for Trump. He wants hands-on involvement, similar to the US approach with Ukraine and Russia, and believes indirect negotiations won't yield the results he seeks. Hence, the deployment of bombers to Diego Garcia. If they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, Trump told NBC on March 29th. But if they refuse, I may also impose secondary sanctions, just like I did 4 years ago. The threats are escalating, but beyond the bomber deployment, no significant action has occurred yet. The second, and much larger issue for Trump is that Iran is not backing down. Now, Iran is threatening to attack the very island the US intends to use as a launch site for its B-2 bombers. And it doesn't stop there. Iran isn't only targeting the US, it's also setting its sights on any nation working alongside America. On March 29th, a high-ranking Iranian military official spoke to The Telegraph, a UK-based news outlet. He initially declared that Iran was preparing for an attack. There will be no difference in targeting British or American forces if Iran is attacked from any base within its missile range. When the time comes, it won't matter whether you're an American, British, or Turkish soldier. If your base is used by the US, you will be a target. This stark warning was followed by Iranian state media doubling down. Iran has sufficient weaponry for such an operation, including updated versions of the Khorramshahr missile with an intermediate range, and the Shahed 136B kamikaze drone, capable of reaching up to 4,000 kilometers, roughly 2,485 miles. Things are worsening for Trump. Initially, Iran threatened retaliation if attacked. Now, its rhetoric has shifted. On March 31st, The Telegraph published news statements from an Iranian military commander warning that Iran might have no choice but to strike first. Top commanders are receiving orders to carry out preemptive attacks on the island and its base if Trump's threats become more serious, the official stated, adding that discussions about the island have intensified since the Americans moved bombers there. Tensions in the Middle East are rising fast. And it's beginning to look like the US and its allies are playing with fire, one that could explode right in their faces. But let's step back for a moment. We've mentioned Diego Garcia several times now, which raises an important question. What is Diego Garcia, and why does Iran see it as a threat? Contrary to what its name might suggest, Diego Garcia isn't a person. It's the largest island in the Chagos archipelago. It is officially controlled by the UK. But since the 1970s, the US has operated a military base there. The base is used to project military power and launch operations in the Middle East. It has also played a crucial role in past conflicts. During the post-9/11 War on Terror, the US used Diego Garcia as a key staging ground for bombing missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. That fact alone is enough to concern Iran. Iraq shares a border with Iran, meaning Tehran is well aware that the US has proven it can launch bomber strikes from Diego Garcia and hit targets within its territory. Currently, there are an estimated 4,000 active military personnel and civilian contractors stationed on the island, all from the US and UK. By itself, that number wouldn't necessarily alarm Iran. Sure, having enemy forces nearby is never ideal, but these troops were primarily tasked with maintenance and operations, not preparing for battle. That has now changed. The US is shifting its strategy on Diego Garcia, and Iran is feeling increasingly uneasy. Why? The answer lies in the B-2 Spirit bombers. Reports of their arrival surfaced on March 25th, when the war zone, TWZ, intercepted radio signals confirming that at least 3 B-2 bombers were en route to Diego Garcia, following Trump's warnings about striking Iran if it refused negotiations. But that's not all. The US also dispatched at least 3 C-17 cargo planes and up to 10 airborne tankers. Those tankers are crucial. They provide in-flight refueling, ensuring that US aircraft can reach their targets and return safely. A target like Iran. By March 26th, the UK Defence Journal provided an update. The US had not only deployed 3 B-2 bombers, it had stationed at least 7 on Diego Garcia, significantly increasing its military footprint on the British-owned island. This marks a further escalation in ongoing preparations for large-scale military action, potentially targeting Houthi forces in Yemen and, according to some experts, Iranian military infrastructure. The journal also confirmed additional aircraft had arrived. The refueling tankers, identified as KC-135 models, had initially been stationed in Hawaii, Guam, and California. Now, they're positioned on Diego Garcia. Given these developments, Iran's concerns are understandable. The B-2 bomber is one of the most advanced aerial assets in the US military. Designed for stealth operations, it can carry both conventional and nuclear weapons. First introduced in 1999, the B-2 played a key role in NATO's air campaign against Yugoslavia. Now, those bombers are stationed within striking distance of Iran. The situation is tense, and the Middle East may be on the verge of a major confrontation. Although the US originally built 21 of these fearsome bombers, only 19 are believed to still be operational today. That makes the deployment of 7 of them to Diego Garcia one of the most remarkable military escalations in recent history. With this move, the US is committing well over a quarter of its B-2 fleet to posing a direct threat to Iran. The aircraft itself boasts a wingspan of 172 feet, while measuring 69 feet high and 17 feet long. It's driven by 4 General Electric Aviation F118-GA-100 turbofan engines, each generating 17,300 pounds of thrust. This power allows the B-2 to reach high subsonic speeds just shy of breaking the sound barrier while covering a distance of 6,900 miles. With the support of aerial refueling tankers stationed at Diego Garcia, that range can be extended by several thousand miles. The aircraft also has a ceiling of 50,000 feet, potentially placing it beyond the reach of most air defenses Iran could deploy against it. However, what should concern Iran the most is the B-2's devastating payload. In terms of conventional weaponry, the B-2 is highly adaptable. It can be loaded with up to 80 MiG-62C mines, each weighing 500 pounds. Though these aren't Iran's main concern since they're not preparing for a naval battle with the US. What's far more alarming is its ability to carry 80 MiG-82 bombs, also 500 pounds each, designed for land-based targets. Depending on the mission, the B-2 can be equipped with GBU-38JDAMs, GBU-31JDAMs, and up to 16 Mk-84 bombs, each tipping the scales at a staggering 2,000 pounds. Its missile arsenal includes the AGM-154JSOOW and AGM-158JASSM. But the most unnerving aspect of the B-2 for Iran is its nuclear capability. This bomber can carry up to 16 B-61-7, B-61-12, or B-83 nuclear bombs. If the US decides to send a strong nuclear message, it can also store up to 8 B-61-11 bombs in its rotary launchers. These bombs weigh approximately 1,200 pounds and deliver a massive 400 kiloton yield, enough to obliterate entire Iranian cities. Iran has no interest in seeing these stealth bombers overhead. That's why they're considering a preemptive strike on Diego Garcia. Which leads to a crucial question. Does Iran even have the capability to attack the island? It's a complicated situation, considering Diego Garcia is nowhere near Iran. Located in the Indian Ocean, the island sits roughly 2,538 miles from Iran's southern border, according to TWZ. That's not an issue for the US, as the B-2's range is more than double that distance, and with aerial refueling, it can nearly triple it. This ensures the B-2s can conduct bombing raids deep inside Iran and still return safely. Iran, however, has far fewer options. In a statement to The Telegraph, an unnamed Iranian official claimed that Iran possesses missiles capable of reaching Diego Garcia, specifically pointing to the latest iteration of the Khorramshahr missile. But this claim might not be entirely accurate. The missile in question is likely the Khorramshahr 4, which Iran revealed in May 2023. It uses hypergolic fuel that can be stored in tanks for years, allowing a launch preparation time of about 12 minutes. If Iran were to execute a missile strike today, this system would be ready. The missile also has advanced defenses. Its body is built with durable composite materials, making it harder to shoot down. Additionally, instead of terminal guidance, it uses a mid-course navigation system, making it immune to electronic jamming. But Iran has one major hurdle. The Khorramshahr 4's range is only 1,242 miles. To strike Diego Garcia, Iran would need to extend that range by at least 1,000 kilometers, while also limiting launch sites to its southern border. That makes the missile a prime target for US bombers if they enter Iranian airspace. Beyond the Khorramshahr 4, Iran has few alternatives. TWZ notes that it's the longest-range missile in Iran's arsenal. If Iran wants to hit Diego Garcia, it would need to launch missiles from ships, something it currently lacks the capability to do, or fire from another nation. But would any country close enough to Diego Garcia risk provoking a direct conflict with the US? That seems highly unlikely. The Iranian official also suggested another approach, Shahed drones. Specifically, the Shahed 136B kamikaze drone. According to the official, this drone has a range of 2,485 miles, just enough to reach Diego Garcia if launched from Iran's southern border. It's also compact enough to be deployed from ships, giving Iran the option of sending vessels into the Indian Ocean for a preemptive attack. The problem? The drones might not pack enough punch to seriously damage the B-2 bombers stationed there. While the Shahed 136B is an upgrade over Iran's original Shahed 136, its enhancements are not significant enough to drastically improve speed. It still only reaches about 115 miles per hour. Not only is that speed unsustainable over the entire trip, but even if it were, it wouldn't matter. The drones are far slower than the B-2 and fly nowhere near the same altitude. If Iran does use them, the US could counter by arming its B-2s with anti-air missiles or relying on Diego Garcia's air defenses to eliminate the drones. So drones may not be a viable option. Even if the Shahed 136B carries enough firepower to damage a B-2, Iran's real challenge is getting them close enough to land a hit. What about Iran's other military assets? It has an air force, though not an impressive one. According to Global Firepower, GFP, which ranks 145 militaries each year, Iran's air force ranks 20th in the world by number of assets. Among its 552 aircraft, 188 are fighters, 21 are attack jets, and 10 serve special missions. Iran also reportedly has 6 aerial tankers, which means it could try to replicate the US's strategy of using airborne refueling to extend its fighters' range. That would allow its aircraft to reach Diego Garcia, deliver their payloads, and return, in theory. The problem? Iran's air force is severely outdated. Its top fighter jet is still the F-4 Phantom II, an aircraft the US developed in 1958. While it was cutting edge back then, it's no match for modern US aircraft. The F-4 has a 1,750-mile range, which could be extended with refueling, but it lacks stealth and would be spotted and shot down long before reaching Diego Garcia. Iran also has a small fleet of F-14 Tomcats, made famous by Top Gun, and F-5E Freedom Fighters. But both are American-made and vastly inferior to current US aircraft. Moreover, the US knows these jets inside and out, making them easy targets. Iran's remaining fighters include Soviet-era aircraft and outdated Chinese models, such as the Chengdu J7/F7, which first flew in 1966. Simply put, an Iranian Air Force attack on Diego Garcia is highly unlikely. Iran's longest-range missile can't reach the island. Its best drone can, just barely, but is too slow to evade US defenses. That leaves its navy, which isn't much of a factor. GFP ranks Iran's navy 34th globally in terms of total assets, but 15th in terms of tonnage. It has 107 ships displacing 223,395 tons. Mostly frigates like the Iron Jamaran and Iron Alvand, neither of which pose a serious threat to the US. Iran has no aircraft carriers, meaning it can't bring its outdated jets close enough to attack Diego Garcia. It does have 25 submarines, mostly Soviet-era Kilo-class diesel-powered vessels, but these are easy to detect and lack land attack missile capabilities. So, despite its threats, Iran may not have the means to strike Diego Garcia. But what do you think? Is a preemptive strike even possible? And if so, how would the US and UK respond? Share your thoughts below.